In the 10 months before the massacre, neighbors in Rancho Tehama Reserve called the Tehama County Sheriff's Department at least 7 times. They reported automatic fire audible throughout the community, threats made directly to them, and a palpable fear they could name. Deputies came, documented, and left. On November 14, 2017, the man they warned about walked out of his house, killed 2 of those neighbors, drove through the community firing at vehicles, then went to Rancho Tehama Elementary and shot 6 children. 5 people died that morning. The calls were received, the documentation existed, the system failed. Rancho Tehama Reserve is a small rural community in Northern California. Ranches, open land, long distances between houses, and a social fabric where neighbors notice one another. By early 2017, residents were acutely aware of one man. He was 44, charged in January with felony assault with a deadly weapon after stabbing a neighbor. Bail conditions explicitly prohibited him from possessing firearms. Yet the sound of automatic gunfire became a daily feature of life there. Neighbors called law enforcement because they had nowhere else to turn. The sheriff's department had tools at its disposal and did not deploy the most decisive ones. The record shows 7 calls from January to November describing gunfire, sometimes accompanied by direct threats. Callers spoke with specificity about their fear, who fired the shots, when it happened, and why they feared escalation. Deputies responded to some of those calls and documented what they encountered. They could hear shots. They recorded statements. The most direct legal mechanism available to remove the threat was bail revocation for violating a firearm prohibition. That revocation did not occur. The night before the attack, November 13th, shots were fired again. A neighbor called 911. Deputies responded, heard gunfire, filed a report, and left the scene. They did not enter the property or conduct a search that would have revealed what was inside. Weapons, some illegally manufactured and stockpiled over time. The shooter and his wife remained inside. The weapons remained inside. In less than 12 hours, those weapons would be used to kill and wound. At approximately 7:55 a.m. on November 14th, the assailant began with the 2 women who had been his primary accusers, the neighbors whose reports had filled the file. He went to their homes and killed them. He then drove through Rancho Tehama Reserve, firing at vehicles and structures. He arrived at Rancho Tehama Elementary. An aide who had heard the earlier shots acted immediately and locked exterior doors. That split-second decision is credited by investigators with preventing many more deaths. He fired at the building, struck it repeatedly, and still found a way to shoot 6 children before law enforcement killed him. 5 people died, several others were wounded. Investigators who searched the property after the event found illegal firearms, weapons he had constructed himself. His wife assisted in concealing them. These weapons had been assembled over time in a home that law enforcement had repeatedly documented, being near but never searched. The felony assault charge and the explicit firearm prohibition should have triggered bail revocation and a search. Neither transpired. Tehama County Sheriff Phil Johnston called the outcome a failure of the criminal justice system. The description was accurate. The system possessed tools and did not use them. 6 children were shot at the elementary school. They survived. The aide's immediate decision to secure the facility is recorded in post-incident reviews as critical in limiting casualties. Their survival is owed to an individual response taken in seconds, not to preventative actions by a system that had 10 months of documented warning. The children's recovery underscores how much was left undone prior to that morning. Accountability has been limited. No prosecutor was charged for failing to seek bail revocation. No deputy was publicly disciplined for responses that documented violations without resolving them. The sheriff acknowledged systemic failure and pledged reviews of dispatch and response protocols. Families pursued civil litigation against the county. The shooter was killed during the incident. His wife faced charges for concealing weapons. Structural failures produced a catastrophic outcome and produced little in the way of individual criminal accountability. The attack reignited debate over red flag laws, legal mechanisms that permit temporary removal of firearms from those who present documented danger. California enacted a gun violence restraining order law in 2014, but the Rancho Tehama case demonstrated that presence of law does not ensure its application. The shooter's pending felony assault charge, weapons prohibition, and repeated neighbor complaints did not lead to a search or bail revocation. California expanded red flag authority in 2019. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act of 2022 incentivized such laws nationally. Those changes did not retroactively alter what happened on that November morning. 7 calls over 10 months. A man with a pending felony assault charge, prohibited from possessing firearms, firing weapons daily in a rural community. Neighbors who described their fear in explicit, documented terms. Deputies who came, took notes, and left. A bail condition that was not enforced. A property that was not searched. An elementary school where 6 children were shot. The sheriff labeled it a criminal justice failure, and he was right. When the record shows 7 calls and 10 months of warnings, the system's failure reads less like error and more like choice. Subscribe to Case Files TV because the record demands scrutiny and because accountability begins with attention.